Alright, so this is the first of the two games, the War game, and it's basically like StarCraft and Crossfire put together. So if you can try and imagine that, that's what we're going to be doing here. The way that we set it up is I have 20 cards here, which is called my primary base, and 20 cards here, which is my secondary base. I have 6 cards here, which right now I'm calling creep, and it's the same on both sides. 5 cards in my hand, and then my base itself is a king and a king. And this is the setup. You just lay it out like this. Face down cards for both your bases. These are your resources that each turn you're going to draw from a resource pile that you own. You can also own the enemy's resources. The way that it works is you need to build up bases to reach your enemy's final primary base and take it out. This could also be played with multiple people as well, perhaps on teams, perhaps not, and just kind of like a deathmatch mode if you want to. Also keep in mind that none of the rules here are set. I mean, again, this is just something made up, so as you have suggestions for it, just make sure to try and leave them with me. So the first thing that we can do is we have these cards in our hand, which is how we're going to play forward. And right now, I really am trying to focus on two main things. One, I'm trying to make a 3-pair match. So for example, like 3 4s. And if I can do that, I can play all 3 4s just in a discard pile, and then a really high card that I want to be my base, like a queen, and I can place that down on my secondary base. Otherwise, in order to actually get to my enemy, I need to defeat all these creep cards here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the cards here to attack the creep and see if I win the cards. We're going to sum up the rank of the cards, where Jack is 11, Queen is 12, King is 13. And you can play multiple cards to attack a single card, a single creep card. Once I defeat these cards, I can now go directly after her base, and she can go out directly after mine after she defeats her creep card. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by laying down a 7 on the creep. This will probe the creep, which is basically the same thing as kind of like Crossfire, where I can now look at it. Aha, it was a 5, so I beat it, and I can just put them in the discard pile. I won't use them anymore. I'm allowed to, before my turn starts, you always draw cards from your resource file. So I'm allowed to play as many cards as I want from my hand, as long as by the time I'm done, I have 5 cards in my hand. If I have more than 5, I have to discard them. So I'm just going to keep going, seeing what these creeps are. That's an 8. Too bad. And I think I'm going to end my turn there and just pass it over to my wife. So she draws from a resource pile, and she's going to probe her creep, and it's, again, too high. So her next turn, she can try and beat that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw. And I can see right now that I have 3 8s, so I'm just going to go ahead and discard those 3 8s to lay down this queen here and now have this resource pile. All I have left is the 2, which isn't going to do me any good here, so I'm going to call my turn done. Alright, so she defeats that creep, moves on. She defeats that creep as well. Notice how she can just keep going until she declares done.
Done.
She's done. So now I have both of the piles, and I can go ahead and draw from both of them because I'm drawing resources. Notice that after time, these resources are going to be depleted. Once they're depleted, you cannot move forward. You cannot draw from that deck anymore. You kind of have to move forward at that point. So you can really defeat people by going right after their bases, or kind of trap them into their own base and have them run out of resources to do anything against you. Alright, so now I have a 2 and a 6 and a 6. Can't do anything with a single card, but I can attack with as many cards in my hand as I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that 2 and that 6. Attacking value beats the defending value, so an 8 attack is going to beat an 8 defense. And I'll just probe with this 6 too. It's a king. Alright, so go ahead. Alright, so she continues to probe it, and she's done apparently. So I'm going to draw from both, and I could attack this king, but I'm going to just go ahead and call done right here. I don't have to do anything on my turn. So I'll pass it over to her, and we're just going to kind of continue things forward a little bit here, just so you can kind of see after she plays her turn. Alright, so she uses 2 to defeat it. Alright, so let's just continue forward to kind of see what contesting each other looks like. So, hypothetically, just go ahead and lay down a card there for your secondary base. And I'm just going to draw a few cards. And let's just say we finally got rid of our creep, both of us. Alright, you can get rid of yours too. So at this point, we're both drawing from both our resource pools. We defeated the creep, and so now we're just trying to attack each other. I know that she has a king there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play as many cards as possible in order to face her king, which what I'm going to do is play a 15. Now what she can do on her turn is she can defend that king with 1 extra card, and I cannot increase my attack. And so as long as she just plays a 2 or higher, you can go ahead and do. She plays a king, so I definitely lost that. And I lose my cards. She loses the king on top. That was the defending card. I'm going to keep going with this, and I'm going to try and break that. So I'm just going to go ahead and play everything against it, which is a lot of numbers. So hypothetically, she probably doesn't have the ability in order to stop that. So she says that she doesn't. I lose. No, she doesn't. I lose all those. She doesn't have to play a defending card. But now she loses that base. It's now her turn. So she's going to go ahead and draw 2 cards. Oh, sorry, she's right. Just the 1, because she doesn't have that base anymore. And notice how I have no cards left in my hand. She can just go ahead and directly attack my secondary base if she wants to, and as long as she can beat that queen, she can kill it. So she takes it out. There's nothing I can do about it. And so that's why you can't just throw everything out against an attack. An alternative way of looking at the game that we're considering doing is, let's look at the hypothetical situation again. Would you put back your king? The other possibility for this, again, it's kind of open in the air right now, and we'll leave it up to you guys how you want it to play out, but let's say I have that same similar hand again. If I wanted to move towards her base, what I would need to do is lay down a certain number of cards after my primary base, and now they've moved on to my secondary base. And as she just goes ahead for her turn, and she can do likewise. Just lay down a few cards in your secondary base. Lays down all of them. So on my next turn, I can move these cards forward and attack that base, but now she has all that defense there in order to deal it. Or I can leave it there, add more onto it. But if I go against it, then I can add more. And so you kind of work your way up with these cards almost as if they're units that you group together. And you would start with the ones furthest away, move them up if you want, and then go forward, and that's how you'd be able to keep track of that. So that's another way in order to deal with a situation like this. But finally, in the end, if you take out their king, or both of if their resources are completely depleted before your own, you win. Again, this could be played with multiple people. No reason why it couldn't. It'd just be a little more chaotic at that point, as you could choose where to go. And it's just, an original idea that, an initial idea that we can kind of develop over time. But if you like this game, make sure to vote on it during the survey. And up next will be the other game we'll talk about. Thanks, guys.